everyone, this is Yana Smakula for SimonsSTM.com, and thank you for joining me today. I am excited to bring you another episode from my bi-monthly Yippee for Yana video series. In today's video, I'm showing you how to stamp a belated birthday card using products from Simon and Hero Arts. I will share one card 3 ways, from a very simple one-layer mail-friendly project to a slightly more layered dimensional card. I'm going to be using the Enjoy the Journey stamp set from Hero Arts for my focal image and the sentiment. What I loved about this set the most is that there's an option to say either I forgot your birthday or we forgot your birthday. You don't really see that in a lot of sets, so I have found that to be rather clever and valuable. The O ship sentiment is also available in the form of a smaller speech bubble if you'd rather the sentiment wasn't so big, and you can have that speech bubble next to one of the ships on your card. There are also other sentiments like safe travels and enjoy the journey in this set. Another stamp set that I will be using today is the new Big Perfect Shapes stamp set from Simon. This set features a set of rather simple geometric shapes. In my book, however, the simpler the better. I love to use simple shapes for my projects as there's just no limit to the things you can do with them. You might remember my video tutorial from a few months ago where I used Simon's Tons of Hearts stamp set and stamped a number of different backgrounds for everyday cards. So this is just another set of must-have shapes in my book. I will be using a circle shape from here to stamp a background, and I actually really love the size of this circle. It measures about 1 3/4 inches in diameter, so a pretty big circle. I have already picked a few colors of ink for my stamping, and I'm going with the aqua colors today. I have several ink pads from Simon, and these are Lake Shores, Winter Sky and Cloudy Sky, Audrey Blue, and High Dive. Let's start stamping. The idea is to use a circle stamp to create sort of a bouquet-looking background. We're not going to get quite that look, but something similar. I'm going to stamp my circle using all 5 ink colors onto my background, and I'll stamp each color 3 times. I'm stamping 3 panels at once, as I'm making 3 cards today, or 3 variations of one card. As I'm stamping, I'm making sure to overlap my circles. I'm overlapping some just a little bit, and others a lot. I'm also not trying to cover every bit of white with my stamping. I do not mind having some white background showing through my stamping. And I'm also not stamping a pattern. I'm trying to have this appear rather random. The paper that I'm using here is Neenah Solar White 110 and 80 pound cardstock. I'm stamping 2 backgrounds onto 80 pound panels and 1 background directly onto 110 pound card front. So here are the 3 of my backgrounds. They're very similar but not identical. Next, I'm going to use my mini Misty and we'll stamp the ship image. I'm using the larger ship from this stamp set and also the O ship sentiment. I'm trying to have these positioned exactly in the center and I'm stamping them using VersaFine Onyx Black ink. Now, I did use my heat tool and dry these panels just a little bit. I had a ton of ink here and I didn't want my black stamping to bleed into the background. So just to be safe, I dried them for a few seconds. In a previous video, I shared an ink brayer background technique, and I shared that video in a few groups on Facebook. In one of the groups, there was a comment about how one can use a brayer to apply pressure to the Misty. The lady had mentioned that she uses her large brayer to apply pressure when she is stamping with the Misty stamp positioner, and I thought that was a brilliant idea. So I used her tip here with my smaller brayer, and I think I'm going to be doing this all the time from now on. This is just very clever and so easy to do, so thank you so much for the tip. Next, I grabbed the smaller sentiment, We Forgot Your Birthday, and a clear block and formed it into a curve. It was much easier for me to align this on a clear block rather than the Misty door, so this is why I used a block here. And once again, I used VersaFine Onyx Black ink for stamping. At this point, I had 3 identical card fronts, and I used them to make 3 cards. I wanted to show you different ways and options one can finish a card. So I had a 1-layer, super simple, mail-friendly card, a slightly more elaborate card, although still simple, and a 3rd dimensional project. I will walk you through all of those, and I'll be curious to hear which one you like best. The one that was stamped directly onto the card base was left pretty much as is. I added a small stamped anchor under the O ship and above the We Forgot Your Birthday sentiments, and I also used a white Prismacolor pencil to color in the sails. I didn't like that they were all a different color from that background stamping underneath, so I used a pencil to mute the color and lighten them up a bit. Using a pencil didn't make them white, but it did lighten the color. If you'd like them to be true white, you can use a white gel pen or do what I did for my card number 2, and I'll share that in just a minute. To complete my second and third projects, I trimmed my panels down to 4 by 5¼ inches and adhered them onto A2 top folding card bases. I also stamped 2 more ship images and an anchor onto a separate piece of cardstock. I used my Simon's Intense Black ink this time as I knew I'd be coloring these images later. Using coordinating dies, I cut out one of the ships and also the anchor, and I set those aside to use for the third card. To complete my second card, I cut out the individual sail sections with scissors and adhered them onto the stamped sails on my panel. That took a little bit of time, but the sail images are in detail, so they weren't difficult to cut out at all. I used my crystal katana tool to pick up and move the cutout pieces and my Tonix Deluxe adhesive to add glue. I really loved the way that this ship turned out. The white sails added a lot to the overall look and made the image pop off the colorful background. Because they were cut out and adhered, they also added a little bit of dimension to this card without actually adding any physical dimension to the project. I later used a C3 and C1 Copic markers along with a colorless blender and added a little bit of shading to each white piece to make it appear a bit more realistic. To complete my third card, I colored my die-cut ship using Copic markers. The colors I picked were dictated by the colors I used for my background stamping. I wanted my ship to match in color as much as possible. I used BG18, BG15, and BG32 markers to color the sails. For the hull of the ship, I picked cool grays. You'd expect it to be brown since the hull of that kind of ship would be made out of wood, but I didn't want to introduce additional color to these monochromatic cards, so I went with gray instead, and I think that turned out rather nice. I used C9, C7, and C5 colors. Using foam adhesive, I adhered the ship and the anchor onto my last project. So here are the 3 completed variations of one card. The 1-layer pencil-colored card, the one with the white cutout sails. The Copic coloring, by the way, isn't there yet. I added it after I had finished filming. And the third card with a colored, cutout, and foam-mounted ship and the anchor. I am curious to hear which one you like best. The first, male-friendly option, the second option with the white sails, or the third, colored option. My favorite is the second one, but I do love that added dimension on the third card as well. I hope you'll give this idea a try. Whatever image you might choose to use, you can always make it into 1-layer male-friendly card or a slightly more dimensional project. As always, do tag us on social media so we can take a peek at your projects. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up and to subscribe to this channel if you haven't yet done so. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'll see you next time. Bye!